Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you this morning. Good to have you here. I think we might have one newcomer in the house this time. Linda, would you mind, or somebody grab a gift bag for you? Thank you for joining us today. Welcome.
My pleasure.
Welcome. And we're delighted to have Jack and Louise here this morning. Yay! It's always a treat to hear Louise sing, and the two of them together are just hand in glove. It's a perfect fit. So good to have you here this morning on this chilly morning. But it's going to warm up. We know that. This is spring in Ohio. We should expect this at this point. It's an up and down affair. A couple of announcements. I'd just like to do them up front so some of our folks listening in online can catch them, and Linda can fill in details afterwards. But next Saturday, a couple things going on you might want to be aware of. Those of you who knew Barbara Wallace, a long-time, much-loved member of our Unity community in Central Ohio, memorial for her. A gathering will be held on Saturday, April 2nd, 11 to 1 or 1:30, something like that. It's at a hotel, I believe. The details are on a flyer in the back. And for those listening in online, on Barbara Wallace's Facebook page, there's a flyer and an email address to RSVP to if you're going to go, because they are providing some refreshments and want to know how many are coming. Also, next Saturday, April 2nd, Joe and I are delighted we're going to be supporting Bill Cohen at one of his wonderful concerts. And he's got a new concert themed Time and Memory, and there's all kinds of wonderful songs about time and memory. And from decade after decade, all kinds of songs about that. And we're harmonizing a little bit with him. Joe's adding guitar. It's going to be a live concert at the Unitarian Church next Saturday night at 7. 93 West Weishummer. Probably know this spot. Admission is free, but they're taking a donation for the Alzheimer's Association. And they say to take a COVID mask, depending on what the church's rules are there. We're not too sure. Next Sunday, Jazziana Chalet is going to guest speak and sing for you. So she does a great job. And her topic is tipping point, which sounds very interesting. Many warm thanks to everybody tuning in, everyone here for your ongoing support of the church with your donations through PayPal or your checks or your gifts in the baskets here. We're so appreciative of everyone's support. All right, well, as always, we want to begin with prayer, and we want to begin to think about what's in our hearts and minds, what we are lifting up in prayer, prayers for peace in the world, prayers for healing, prayers for recognition of our oneness, our unity. And as we begin to think about that, Louise and Jack are going to do Surely the Presence for us. Feel free to sing along with that. It's an old favorite.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
Thank you, Louise. Let's close our eyes for a moment and allow ourselves to become even more centered and still and aware of the life within us, that renewing life, that healing energy, that steadying peace that is with us always. We are aware of that power and presence as we breathe in and out and feel it flowing through us, steadying and strengthening us. And as we do so, we remember that this power and presence is with living beings everywhere, in all places, in all circumstances, without exception, available to us to guide us in the path of life, of peace, of love. That will of God in us, that energy of God in us that is always for our highest good. We are alert to it, and we are ready to follow its path. We affirm our understanding that we are now and have always been one with this indwelling power, this presence of God. We have never been damaged. We have never been led astray. We have always been one with it. And it has always been guiding us, strengthening us, leading us forward to greater peace and joy and freedom, healing us deeply from within. So we affirm this truth for ourselves, for everyone in our community of prayer this morning, for living beings across the globe. This power and presence, this love, this peace at work among us, moment by moment. That is the truth, and we come out of this time of prayer together with grateful hearts and minds, knowing it is so, and so it is. Right. Well, Louise and Jack are going to do a song for us. I think they've got spring on their minds. Am I right? They've got spring on their mind. I'll let them introduce the songs, okay? Thank you, Louise.
Okay, well, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah. This song that I chose was originally introduced by one of our jazz contemporaries, Louis Armstrong. And I've loved the song ever since I heard it the first time.
Mm-hmm.
It's entitled Wonderful World. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and for you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, bright blessed day and the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of the people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more to myself, and I say to myself, and I say to myself, what a wonderful world.
Well, come sit, relax, wherever you want to be. You can sit up there or come on down here and join us. Right. Well, I've been thinking about kids this week and dipping back into some children's literature and so on. My title is Getting Back to 8, as in 8 years old. So, of course, I had to think of some kids' jokes. And I'm a big fan of kids' jokes. They just, they always get my funny bone. Here's one with Easter coming up, kind of appropriate. What do you get when you cross a rabbit with a shellfish? An oyster bunny. Huh? Cute? Here's a good one, kids. Did you hear about the rancher who had 97 cows in his field? When he rounded them up, he had 100. Rounded them up. Yeah, that's a good one for you, Elizabeth, as a math teacher. Yeah. Okay, how do they keep, this is good for March Madness, how do they keep the basketball arenas cool? Fill them with fans. Fill them with fans. Okay. What do you call a line of rabbits jumping backwards?
Receding hairline.
Yeah, you heard that. Good try, Barbie. But it's a receding hairline. Okay, and finally, I like this one as a dog lover. What kind of dog does a magician have? A Labracadabrador.
That's good.
I bet you want to say that with me, don't you? Labracadabrador. Yeah, that's a good one. Kids' jokes, they're the best kind. Well, I'm thinking about kids. I'm thinking about getting back to 8. The 8-year-old in us, alert to the world, listening, seeing everything, not closed down to anything, not defensive, not protecting self, but really seeing and loving the world, really being very, very alert to the world, the way we were when you were 8. Do you remember what you were like when you were 8? I've been trying to recapture it, in my thinking, and I've been dipping back into some children's literature. I caught an interview with an award-winning children's author by the name of Kate DiCamillo. Maybe some of you, with your grandkids or something, might have run some of her books. Like I just finished one called Because of Winn-Dixie. Winn-Dixie's the name of the dog. Is that familiar? They're delightful books. I just read a couple of hers. And she had a rough upbringing, Kate DiCamillo, and she usually shares some of this when she does readings or presentations with kids. She was chronically ill the first 5 or 6 years of her life. She had pneumonia every winter, was in and out of the hospital a lot, had some kind of skin condition they couldn't diagnose, really kind of just really lots of difficulties in her childhood. And she shares some of that with her kids when she does readings. And they'll ask questions and, how did you, get to be here? And they'll say things like, I guess you were stronger than you thought you were. Things like that. The wisdom, the alertness of children, the openness. So she had a lot to say about the wisdom of 8-year-olds, and I just thought, they're wide open to life. They're very cognizant of everything going on, and they're very aware of the truth about life, that it's a mixed bag, that there are hardships, like her being sick as a child so much, like her father leaving the family, and they had a separation in the family. Things like that, just as the kids she does readings for, they know this too. And they know when adults are lying to them and saying things like, oh, everything will be fine. I'm sure your father will be back soon, which adults do. They say things like that, wanting to protect the innocence of children. But who's it protecting? I think maybe it's more for the adults. Because I think children, they know truth, and they're able to take in life as it is. There's a lot of wisdom in little ones. And I think it's that being able to stay open to seeing all of life is where that wisdom really is, because seeing is really the most basic definition of love. It's really the most basic definition of love, to really see someone, to really see others. That's about as basic as it gets. That's love in action. So I've always loved in the old scriptures, the Hebrews had, in Jewish culture, they had many, many names for God in Hebrew. And one of my favorites, was the God who sees me. El Roi in Hebrew, the God who sees me. No matter how invisible we might feel, no matter how lost we might feel, God is with us. God sees us. We are seen. It's a way of describing that love in its most basic way. Children really see. They really love the world. They're wide open to it, and they really see it. They're not shut down in the way that adults quite often do, because it feels like too much to take in. There's a lot of scriptures, a lot of teachings in our spiritual traditions about the wisdom of children. And Jesus, of course, that famous line from scriptures about, this is in Matthew 18, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." He was not talking about, some distant place in the sky later on. He was talking about living in a state of consciousness of God's presence and God's love, living in touch with that God power and presence. And we don't get there unless we're like children, he's saying. We don't have that experience of oneness with God's love and goodness unless we're open and receiving like a child. I think these are in our teachings all around us. Children really see the world and all the living beings, and really see the whole world is alive. And they're not holding back or protecting themselves from it. I think we all know that. And we know that children, we kind of teach that out of them as they get older. I was remembering, just as I was reflecting on this, a time when I was a little girl, probably around 7 or 8, and we were at the local bank or something in the small town where I grew up, and there was a man there that didn't have an arm. And I remember asking to my mother, where's his arm? Why doesn't he have an arm? Where's his arm? She was, and he heard, and he kind of looked over it kindly. We understand, but that was an early lesson, and you don't look at people that way. It's like there's something wrong with really seeing. You pretend not to see troubling things. It makes everybody more comfortable. Let's pretend we don't see that. You get enough of that growing up, and after a while, you're not seeing a lot. You're not seeing a lot about how other people are living in the world. You're not seeing a lot of sorrow, maybe even in your own household or in your own community. You've kind of learned how to shut it down because it's too troubling. It's too much to take in. We need to get back to, especially in times of healing, which I think this is a time of healing. After coming out of a pandemic, we're getting our feet under us again, our confidence back in our health and our well-being and our communities. In a time of healing particularly, I think we need our 8-year-old strength. I think we need that spirit with us in times of healing, and I think this is one of those times. How do we get back to 8? How do we get back to that 8-year-old spirit in us that's brave and courageous and sees all and loves and is not defending or holding off or blocking in any way? So I have just a number of ideas and examples to share, and maybe I'm hoping it'll stimulate just some ideas for you to think about how you can bring your 8-year-old self out more, because it's in there. We've all still got our 8-year-olds in there. It doesn't go away. And there are things we do that kind of help it come out more, I think. Reading is certainly one. I've been reading some Kate DiCamillo this week. I'm thinking of pulling out The Secret Garden again. Anyone loves Secret Garden? Particularly girls love that book. But there's lots of them where the magic of reading, you really get back in touch with that wonder child in you that believes in a kind of vibrancy all around us, the magic in the world. Nancy Drew books, Charlotte's Web, anything like that. Remember how it felt to live in a book for a while? It was lovely, and especially if there were pictures. You'd be reading a story and then, oh, wow, this magical world, and you're getting a glimpse of it. You can recapture that a little bit if you dip back into books like that. I think walking is a real good strategy for capturing that 8-year-old spirit again. I was fortunate to grow up in a small town where we could walk everywhere. Walk to school, walk to the park, there was a neighborhood market, we'd walk by there. every day. And I knew the neighborhood from walking so much, just going for a walk, not to get anywhere particularly, just to walk. I knew all the dogs in the yards. I knew the birds. I knew the trees. That's how a kid knows the world. It's all alive. The world is sentient, every part of it. And you walked in the world that way. Like John O'Donohue says, we're not walking through dead geography. We're walking through a living world. Everything is alive. And children really know that, get that. You don't have to teach them that. The more we look around and really look and see, the more we love the world, the more we feel a part of it, the better we are. That 8-year-old self in us comes out more and more. So walking, go for a walk, and remember not to make it a workout, not a walking workout, not to get anywhere, just to walk and look around, see what you find, discover something. If you take a walk with a child, it'll be like that. A child will be discovering something everywhere. Some interesting rock, a flower, a bird, clouds, whatever it might be, because children see everything as alive and are relating to it that way. I might have told you this story once before, several years ago. I know it was pre-pandemic, but I was shopping at Whole Foods, and there was a little boy stuck in a grocery cart, while his mother was shopping. And he was right in the cheese area, cheese display area. And the mother was away from the cart a little bit. I noticed the little boy was just chattering away. Mother came back and saw me smiling and looking at the little boy, and she said, "He's talking to the cheese." I love that. The little boy is capable of talking to cheese. That's the colors, all the different colors and textures and the big wheels of it. And it must have just looked delightful and fun. And he guess he really loved cheese, but whatever. Everything is alive. I think we can learn from that. We need to get back to really seeing the delights around us, seeing the wonders of the world. We need to rediscover play. For some reason, I have a very distinct memory of the last time I went to a neighbor friend's house, and said, "Can Nancy come out and play?" Do you remember going to a friend's house and going knocking on the door and asking the parent who answered, "Can somebody come out and play?" And there wasn't any agenda, there wasn't any games planned. It was just come out and we'll figure something to do. We'll look around, we'll see what there is. We need to get back to that spirit. Maybe give ourselves some opportunity to do that. Just make something, build a cairn, stack up some rocks, or make a little path, or whatever it might be. Draw a picture of the clouds, or do something that's just for fun. We don't do that enough as adults, would you agree? We don't do enough that's just for fun. So try to remember how to play. For me, one of the best ways is gardening. It's kind of as close as I get to kind of playing, because you're just puttering in the dirt, a lot of the time. Especially if you're kind of a bad gardener like me. You're just kind of digging things around, moving things around, hoping for the best. So reading, walking, playing. Be creative, like in making up a story, telling a story, or drawing a picture. All children know they're capable of doing that. It's only as they get to be older and adults they become critical and think they can't draw or write or tell a story anymore. We've forgotten we know how to do that. We still can. Give yourself permission. Get out your crayons or your markers or whatever it might be. Anybody can draw a picture. You can. We all can. Anybody can tell a story and maybe write it down. I remember writing a novel when I was like 8. It was based on the Man from U.N.C.L.E. series. Do you remember the Man from U.N.C.L.E.? Yeah. It was terrible, but it was a novel, and it was great fun. And it was sort of a secret fun project I worked on in my room. Sure, anybody can write a novel if you want to. Yeah, anybody can do a painting or draw something. Why do we stop that? We need to recapture that creative spirit. It's one of the many ways we block ourselves as we grow up. Spend time with animals, whether you have pets or not. Be with animals. Look at the animals. Revel in the beauty and the life of animals. They're such a magical part of our world. Children all know this. That's why there's so many animals in children's literature, because children know that everything's alive and fascinating and wonderful, and they are alert to that. We all know that. We don't make a distinction between certain life forms are more worthy of our respect than other life forms. Children know they're all living things and they're all wonderful, and they want to know all about them. Kate DiCamillo, this children's author, she had, during those years when she was so ill in childhood, she had a standard poodle named Nanette, who was always by her side. Sick in the middle of the night, any time of day or night, there was Nanette right by her side. And the family had a running thing about how Nanette was surely a nurse in a previous life because of the way Nanette tended her. Children always know this. All life is sentient, so spend time really with the birds and the animals and the insects, and everything is alive out there, and it's all a wonderful part of the world we can soak up. And here's another one, write to trees. This is kind of a quirky one. See, our 8-year-old is still in us somewhere. Joe shared an article with me about in Melbourne, Australia. It was kind of as an effort to keep an eye on the condition of trees around the city, around the area. And so they gave all the trees email addresses so that if people took note of a problem with one of the trees, they could write to the tree, and the city would track all these emails coming into all these thousands of trees that they gave email addresses to. So emails started coming in. As of the writing of that article, there were 4,000 emails written to these trees and coming in. And they weren't about the trees' conditions. They were expressions of gratitude. They were questions about life. It was kind of amazing. I just love it. Hi, tree. You are just outside my work, and you make me happy. Keep growing and keep on treeing. I love that. This is an adult with a nice, strong 8-year-old spirit in there. Dear magnificent river red gum, I admire you every day as I walk past you on my way to and from work. Hope you enjoyed the rain this weekend after such a long, dry month. I like that, really relating to the tree, caring about the tree. Dear smooth-barked myrtle, I am your biggest admirer. You inspire me to live life to the fullest and pursue my dreams. You keep growing despite the terrible tragedies in this world. You are loved and deserve the world. Love, some person in New York. Other side of the globe. Loving that picture of that tree, being inspired by it. There's an 8-year-old spirit in those emails, wouldn't you agree? Really seeing the world as sentient, seeing all the trees as amazing and magnificent, and relating to them like they're alive. That's the 8-year-old spirit. So we can bring that 8-year-old spirit into our lives, our work lives, wherever we live, however we work, whatever we do, we can bring our 8-year-old spirit to that by trying to do something fun or creative with it or new with it, instead of the routine, instead of the obligations and the things you have to do. What are the things that might be fun to do? The creative things you can bring into it. And I was struck by a story I heard. I love Steve Hartman's stories. He's a journalist. He does human interest stories. And he told a story about an Arkansas man named Kevin Eubanks who had a massive stroke like 8 years ago. And long, slow recovery, but he did recover very well and could do pretty much anything he wanted, even though he still couldn't use his left arm. But everything else he did pretty darn well. But the thing he missed most in life was doing a real hug, a 2-armed hug. He said it's just not the same, one arm. And he missed that more than anything. He had grandkids, and he missed being able to really do a hug. So his daughter, fortunately, was an OT, an occupational therapist, and she taught at a community college locally. And she got a few of her students working on the project. Can you come up with something adaptive for my dad to be able to hug again? And they came up, they had all kinds of ideas, and threw all these ideas out, and they finally came up with this thing. Very simple device, kind of a long strap with a loop on the end of it, kind of. Fit over the arm, and then would loop around the other arm or something. They named it the Hugger. Has right across it, the Hugger, and presented it to him, and this is on line if you want to look it up. Just look up the stroke victim with the Hugger. It'll come up. And he's just hugging his grandsons. One of them had been born since he had that stroke. He'd never been able to hug him. And tears are just streaming down his face with emotion he couldn't control as he's hugging his grandkids and his loved ones for the first time in 8 some years with a full 2-armed hug. He's just weeping. And the boys are just smiling and looking like they feel loved and seen, just as he had been seen, by his daughter. And those students, they really saw Kevin Eubanks, saw what he needed, saw how important it was. That's love, when we really see that way, the way a child does. And inventing something called a hugger, to me that just seems like an 8-year-old spirit at work there, doesn't it? Being creative, what can I invent? What can I make this happen? Do you remember making inventions when you were a kid? How many of you did inventions? I remember making inventions, just little things. A way to open the door from over there or something like that, or special things. There's this unlimited quality about being an 8-year-old, and we need that. We need it badly. We need it in times of healing and recovery. We need to be wide open to life, to that 8-year-old spirit in us that's wide open, and wide open to the power and presence of God flowing through us. It's not a way of avoiding the challenges of life. It's a means of carrying on courageously in the midst of them, that 8-year-old spirit in us. So let's take that into a closing prayer if we could, and affirm our awareness that that 8-year-old spirit is alive and well in us and has never been damaged or destroyed. It cannot be taken from us. That place in us where we feel vibrantly alive and we know the world around us is vibrantly alive. It's a magical, wonderful place, rich with blessings, and we are wide open to them. Aware of the challenges, but aware of the great beauty and healing energy and power flowing within and all around us. We are wide open to that, without barriers, without holding back, without defenses. This is the life of God within and all around us, and we are grateful for it. So it is. Amen. All right, now Louise and Jack have another song for us, and I'll just let you tell folks what that is.
I just want to say that I get to play every day.
That's great, that's great. There's nothing wrong with your 8-year-old spirit, that's for sure.
Oh, thank you, Joanne. Wonderful message. Okay, well, this is, the title of this song is called Younger Than Springtime.
Oh, nice.
And it comes from the Broadway musical, South Pacific. And I was a little apprehensive in singing this. I thought I might change the lyrics around, but no, I chose not to. Okay. And the reason I thought about changing the lyrics was because it might be slightly inappropriate for a Sunday service, but no, not really. So I don't. So I was going yin and yang, yin and yang. So I thought, well, okay, we're just going to leave it the way Oscar Hammerstein and Richard Rodgers intended it to be.
Good policy.
No, changing the wonders of genius. So I thought, well, we just do it the way it is. It's called Younger Than Springtime. Younger than springtime are you, softer than starlight are you, warmer than winds of June are the gentle lips you gave me, gayer than laughter are you, sweeter than sunshine are you, sunlight and moonbeams, heaven and earth are you to me. And when your youth and joy invade my soul and fill my heart as they do, younger than springtime am I, gayer than laughter am I, sunlight and moonbeams, heaven and earth am I with you. your youth and joy invade my soul and fill my heart as they do. Younger than springtime am I, gayer than laughter am I, sunlight and moonbeams, heaven and earth am I with you. Dedicate that to my